Hello. It is an honor for me to have a chance to present at the EENA conference. My name is Filip Malenak, and I'm a representative of an organization that develops and runs app-based and web-based solution for emergency services in 4 European countries. The small computers that we have in our pockets that we call smartphones provides us incredible technology. But every technology should have a user foremost as a center of its focus. And video communication to a PSAP has become part of the emergency communication in many European countries. But what are the challenges for the caller from the human perspective and for the dispatcher? That are the questions that we try to answer in an article that we wrote together with David and EENA. And today I'd like to give you, with David, a brief overview of what we wrote in that article, and at the end of the presentation show you some real-life examples of video communication to a PSAP. From a technical point of view, we can see now on the market two types of technology, two types of solutions that can be used to initiate a video call with the caller that is calling to the emergency service. More common is a case where the caller calls standard emergency call, and the web RTC session is being initiated by a push notification if he's calling from a special mobile app, or by an SMS. Less common, but also very effective, is a video communication as an initial part of the emergency calling. In my presentation, and we will be talking more about the case where the video is set up after a standard phone call to an emergency service is performed. The cases that you will see at the end are provided by the Czech Emergency Medical Services, where we are using video calling or video technology for emergency medical service for already 2 years. And the Czech Resuscitation Council at the beginning set some cases or some proposal of in which cases the video will make the most sense. One of them is traffic accidents. Second is telephone-assisted first aid and the CPR. Third are the callers with hearing disabilities. And also, the video can provide better situational awareness for the crews. Here on the video, you can see an example of a system which is used in some countries for initiating the video call during a standard call is being made. So the video is used as a second channel and second information for the dispatcher. And you could see how it looks from the dispatcher point of view and how it looks from the caller point of view. So what are the challenges from the caller's perspective? Actually, we have to think that the caller has to make several steps in order to set up a video communication. He has to call the emergency service, either by dialing the number or by using a special app. And dispatcher has to decide if he would like to enhance the emergency call by a video. If yes, the caller is sent by a notification or SMS, and he has to be skillful enough to turn on the camera, accept the link, and allow the camera to access. So he has to be able to multitask on the phone during the emergency call. From this example and from what we've seen regarding the challenges of the caller, we've seen much higher probability of starting the emergency call with the video if there are more people on the scene of the incident. So video is often used, and more often used to be sent and set up, not with the caller, but with some of the bystanders that are there. So the challenges for the caller is that they have to make several steps. Some of the callers also, we've seen that they are taking more focus on shooting the video for the emergency service than to their own safety. For example, during the car accidents, we've seen some callers that use the video that they take more care about shooting the car that crashed, and they were not taking care that there are other cars passing him that might potentially put him into a danger. Also, we were facing some problems that even though that there are a lot of people, there is an incident, and the caller told the others, I will be shooting a video for the emergency service before they arrive, the other people on the scene of the incident were very unhappy that somebody is there walking with a camera on his phone. And of course, and also, this was a prediction, but it turns out that it's not true. We thought that the callers would have a problem with their data consumption, because not in all countries the video flow, the data flow from for the video communication is whitelisted. Not in all of them it is whitelisted, but we have never had a problem with data consumption. The callers were always happy to provide their data to share the information with the emergency services. And what are the challenges from the dispatcher's point of view and from the dispatcher's perspective? The guidelines and the questionnaire for the dispatcher may vary from country to country. This is an example of a Czech emergency service, a medical emergency service workflow. As we can see, they put the video communication on two places. They can either start it as part of an initial classification, or they start the video right after the crews are sent as part of the video-assisted or telephone-assisted remote first aid. From 2 years of experience, we can clearly see that 90% of all video communication that was set up in Czech Republic were made after the initial call was made and after the crews were on their way to the scene of the incident. So the video was used to clarify the state, the health state of the patient, and to help the remote first aid by bystanders to the patient. We tried to make some checklist for the dispatchers that they should ask themselves before initiating a video call. And these are some of the checklist questions that the dispatcher should ask. Does it make sense from a professional point of view? Will it bring me something more that I see, that I will see the scene of the incident compared to a standard call? Will the caller cooperate? Is he on a scene of the incident alone? Are there more people that can provide us the video? Is the caller in the suitable environment? Will it be safe for him? Because it's our responsibility, if we are starting the video, that the caller has to be in safe. There should be enough good lighting conditions and so on. And also important technical question is, does he have a smartphone? Will he have an internet, and does he have enough battery? If he used the mobile app at the beginning for emergency calling, we know all these informations as an initial part of the call. But if you are calling standard-wise, sometimes we don't have these data. And the last question, and David will talk more about this, is: do me as a dispatcher, do I really want to see what is happening on the scene of the incident? We've seen that some of the dispatchers are just not starting the video calls, even in the cases where there would be a very good opportunity to have some benefit from the video. Some of them are not willing to start the video because they don't want to see what is happening there. They don't want to see it by their own eyes. They are safe. They are feeling comfortable in the dispatch room, and it's stressful enough for them to hear it, and they don't want to see it. But what we've seen so far, that it is more as a supplement of a telephone call. Not all the telephone calls are supplemented by the video. It's a supplement, and the dispatcher should above all know how to use it and know the limits of the technology to be able to use it practically in real life. And for the more approach to the human perspective of this, I would like to give the floor to David.
And good morning, everyone. It's fantastic to see that video technology has already been introduced, and we're learning the lessons from it about how we can make our services better. We must never forget, technologies made by humans, used by humans, and it impacts humans. I think we must bear that in mind, that we haven't always thought about the human component of technology as we brought it through. And it's such an important thing to do. And many of the commercial companies and the big brands that we know have understood this, and they use it very well to make sure that it does the function it needs, but in a way that we're happy with as well. And I think as we've been through the pandemic, actually, when you look across the business sector, the estimate is that there's been an increase in the digitisation programs of those, of an acceleration of about 6 times their initial plans. And that's brought with it tremendous benefits, and it was partly necessary to deal with the changes in the world around the pandemic. But interestingly, what we're now seeing is a lot of the language talking about humanizing their digital and technical products, because in having to bring those in very quickly, they're now realizing that the users of those, both internally and externally, are finding it quite difficult at times. It doesn't meet all their needs. And so this humanizing is important, but it's actually, that's trying to correct something that you didn't do in the first place. We have the opportunity, as we bring this technology in, to be human by design, and that's a much better place to be. The report we covered looked at both the technical side of video technology and the human side. And I will just run through a few key points, but I urge you, if this is a subject of interest, please have a read of the report, which is freely available on the EENA website. I'll try and do it in a way that maybe is relevant to some of the questions that you may be having at the moment to answer. So the first one is, we live in a world that's not disconnected from everyone else. The people that call us use other services as well. And what we see in the commercial sector very much is that customer expectations are not dictated by a specific sector. They are looking at the best of everywhere. And if they see a company that can use technology, then they expect others to do it. And if realistically, through the last 2 years, we've all got very used to video technology on a personal basis to maintain social ties during a pandemic and also to maintain our businesses. So we shouldn't lose sight of the world we live in, although we start to look at it within emergency services. Actually, people have more than ever a great awareness and comfort with video technology. Visual material strategy, I pose that purely as a consideration, again, because it's very easy to isolate thinking about video technology in PSAPs as a specific issue. It's really important that we think about a visual image strategy that goes across the organisation. We collect images, whether still or video, in all sorts of places. We see videos going onto vehicles, body mounted, we'll use third-party sources. So I know some colleagues have said that where we use video, it'll be automatically deleted instantaneously. That may well be the right approach for your organisation, but I would just say, take that moment to reflect on how you're now collecting so many different sources of information in different places that you'll end up with inconsistent policies within different departments. So this is a good time just to take that check and make sure that you've got a strategy across all. Mental well-being, Filip touched on this, and it is a genuinely very important point. My slight concern is it becomes a barrier. It's something we should be very mindful of, but if we put it again in context, any one of our emergency responders on the front line probably never did a test to understand how they would respond to certain types of incidents, visual images, or contact with different scenes. What they did know when they joined is they've got an incredibly good support, both informal systems and formal systems around them that would look after them. And I would suggest be very mindful of the mental well-being on the employees, but don't let it be a barrier to actually starting to deploy this, because it has so many good benefits. And alongside that, it actually may prove to have a very good number of benefits for employees. We did just very briefly, we did a workshop with some control members in the UK, and we divided into 3 groups, and what we found is that the 2 groups of experienced operators had a different view to the newer group. The more accurate perception of what was likely to be happening at a typical event on the other end of the line was from the newer people. And we tried to work out why that was, and it's culturally, partly, that we always tend to talk about the worst case incidents. Fortunately, in many organisations, those are very few and far between, and they have to be managed. But actually, we found, my sense is that video technology will allow people that at the moment have to rely on audio to be able to start to see scenes and get a better sense that most incidents, and actually provide a better service from that. But we did find that actually, because of the way the culture had worked in service, the more experienced people in our teams had a different sense, and actually an exaggerated sense of the risks at the other end, which impacted their communication ability. I won't touch too much on this next one, but it's really just to say that, again, through the studies we did, citizens have a very different understanding of risk tolerance. Again, in organisations, we talk about risk, we think about it a lot, and because we see it a lot, it impacts how we understand it. The study showed that actually the citizens have a very different level of risk tolerance. They will incur minor injuries to do things that they value. And that's a really key point really around that. We think of events in the technical function of they need to be addressed. from the studies we did, the public obviously understand an event's happened and want that resolved, but they also very much understand how it impacts on them, the harm it's going to do to their lives, the disruption it's going to cause. And we perhaps are not always good at sensing that. But it's important that we do, because it very much drives their behaviours and priorities and their needs. And the better we get at connecting those, the better we'll be able to serve them and work with them. And I think video does this fantastically well for us. And again, as I've mentioned, we don't have to consider ourselves unique to this. The commercial sector, in different guises, have used video technology for a little while, and we could learn very quickly from their experience. So just in terms of the opportunities, one thing I just want to touch on quickly is, bear in mind, we would probably start thinking about this as we can control the call. When we think it's useful, we will invite the caller to access the video technology. I would ask you to consider, from first concept, thinking about it as a two-way communication. Again, because the citizens are very used to making video calls, both to other companies and to their friends, and at some point, they will want to make video calls to us because it suits them, it's part of what they need. They may just need to see a face and be reassured in a time of distress. So rather than think about introducing it one way and at some point whether we will introduce it to citizens, I would try and get that in early on as an aspiration. You may want to do it one way to start with, but do start with the view of at some point you want to allow the caller to the service to control some aspects, if not all of that call, because they need the video connection as well as yourself. I won't dwell on that because I'm mindful of the time. Assessing the need response to the benefits of video are obvious around that respect. And when we look at shared approach, just on that, I suppose that's really my last key point. Typically, we take a call and we don't, in some services, don't do too much with it. We rely on the physical response. But we know in principle, the earlier the intervention, the better the outcome. I'm really excited by the video technology because I think what it allows us to do is to start rethinking actually what the PSAP role is. Can we start pushing that intervention, even by a few minutes, further forward to get a better outcome for citizens? And video, for me, is one of those tools that enables us to reimagine something that we've got very used to and start to think, how do we get connection? We may not have our own resource at the scene, but we know that citizens are very capable and very effective in doing work already. So if we think about that connection and how we use video, we do have resources at the scene. We've got to trust the citizens, and the data supports the fact that they do a very good job. So I think it's a really interesting time about how we develop this, not just to improve our experience and outcomes, but that of the public, and push those interventions further forward. I think the fourth point is fairly obvious to everyone, and so mindful of the time, I won't spend too much. But just final point is, I suppose, a little bit of a challenge that in the health sector particularly, we're seeing that commercial companies are starting to not just sell to the sector, but sell products direct to consumer. And I think that trend will continue. So we've traditionally been fairly safe as monopolies. We've had clear boundaries. Those boundaries are changing because the commercial sector now, with technology, can make products that are both functional and desirable. Now, I think we can be part of that, but we have to start either looking at public-private partnerships or starting to better understand human experience so that we are part of that conversation, that products are not just functional but desirable. So I think video technology is something you really should be thinking about very quickly. From the providers, there's some great lessons being learned already, and it has immense ability not just to make what we currently do better, but actually to expand how useful and helpful we can be to citizens. And at that point, I'd just like to say thank you very much and hand back to Gray.
So the first example you're going to see is from the EMS in, I don't know the English name of the city, but it's called Karlovy Vary in Czech Republic. Maybe you know it, it's Karlsbad auf Deutsch. And the first video you're going to see is a car crash where they started the video after the emergency crews were sent, and they were checking the status of the patient and also of the caller before the emergency crew arrives. This is just a short section of the video which took around 15 minutes. And the video was ended right after the first crew arrived. The second example is a CPR. And we've seen that during a CPR, the video can be very, very effective. And we've seen also many studies confirming that. On the video, you can see that they were also switching positions. And if we would have also a voice, you could hear the dispatcher saying, please put your arms in the middle of the chest and so on. And in the third one, this is an example of a car crash where there are a lot of victims, and one of them was guided to shoot a video just to have a better situation awareness for the coming crews. And at the same time, also because the video always contains location, they were also clarifying the exact location of the incident by providing this video call. So thanks all from our side. Thank you very much.